Mm. Welcome to the Business Catechist podcast, where we dive into the minds of industry leaders shaping the future finance, business, and innovation. I'm your host, Sadaf Abbas, and today I'm thrilled to welcome a truly remarkable guest, Viktoria Soltesz. With over 2 decades of experience in banking, payments, and taxation, Victoria has built a reputation as one of the foremost experts in her field. And she is an author, trainer, consultant, entrepreneur, and for 3 consecutive years, the recipient of the Payment Consultant of the Year award. So, Victoria, welcome to the podcast, and it's an absolutely pleasure to have you with us.
So much for inviting me and allowing me to share the journey and all the mission that I'm representing. So I'm really excited for this conversation. Thank you very much again to have me on
Okay,
this.
so let's start dive into the introduction background more in detail, Victoria. So, start Victoria with such deep seasoned background in this complex industry. I would love to ask, as you are not just a consultant, you are also an author, trainer, and entrepreneur. Who does these diverse roles work together to support your broader mission? So, what's the synergy between them?
Maybe we need to go back at the past to give you a full context of where am I coming from and how did I end up in payments and banking? Because I think everybody stumbles across and ends up in payments and banking somehow. No one really studies to become a payment and banking expert because there is no really education around it. So that's what happened to me as well. 20 years ago, a long time ago, it's too long to even mention. But 20 years ago, Cyprus, which is a small little island on the Mediterranean, joined the EU. And at that time, a lot of international companies came to Cyprus to incorporate a sister company for tax optimization purposes, still being in the EU. They used euro, so it was a perfect opportunity for joining in the international financial system. So I started to work as a tax accountant. So I was helping all these international companies, setting up a company in Cyprus, explain them about the taxation, helping them to make the right decisions, accounting and audit, fiduciary services around it. But my clients started to come to me more and more about the problems of payments and banking. They told me that, Victoria, I understand that when you are setting up a company, and of course we are doing tax optimization, on paper everything works well. But how comes that the banks are asking all of these questions? They are deciding what payment to send, what to keep back. And overall, this whole payments and banking is like a very complex situation that we don't really understand. So, of course, I was an accountant. They came to me for answers. And then I realized that I don't know anything about it, right? Because accountants are just not trained on even on the basic banking and payment expressions. We don't know what is SWIFT transfers. We don't know what is open banking, the latest fintech innovation. I mean, we are not technical people, data security and integration and compliance. So that's when I realized that, there are a lot of things that I don't know, and my clients are expecting answers from me. So that's when I started to dig deeper and started to really understand how banks think, why they are allowing certain transactions and blocking others, what are the different banking language that they are using, what are the fees, obviously, that I have to pay, that they didn't mention, forgot about to mention about it, hidden fees and this whole world of like very complex payments and banking setups. So I started to work as a consultant because I realized that these are the issues, which are obviously tax and incorporating of a company is one thing, but how you are actually putting that in action. How can you make sure that your clients not only have the right taxation setup, but have the right bank to execute that? Because without bank, obviously, you can't really operate. So that's when I started my company, which is an independent payment and consultancy, PSP Angels, where we are setting up structures which are related to tax, related to finance, a bit of compliance, a bit of technical jargon. So the whole operation is supported by the relevant payment and banking strategy, where the money comes from, how much, how often, what currency, which bank is handling that, what is the risk to use that bank or use an alternative one, what are the best payment methods to open up to new markets and move funds even within the group. So there are a lot of moving parts that we are talking about now, and it's actually making sense. But once you're a finance professional, you might not even think about these things. So that's how I started as a payment and banking consultant. And when I started to work with other accountants and other CFOs who were just as clueless as me at the beginning, that's when I realized that, wait a minute, there is no overall education around this subject. No one is really teaching you how cards work, how open banking shifts money from one bank account to another, and all other parts of the payments and banking, which is out there. You can Google it, you can self-educate, but if you're responsible handling funds, Googling and guessing is not necessarily the best way to go forward. So that's what I started the institute, the Soltesz Institute, which is currently the only educational center which is dealing with specifically payments and banking problems, and it's independent. So it's not supported by any payment provider or any bank, but an individual initiative where all the payment providers and all the users can come together and share ideas, learn about the subject. We try to set the standard for an ethical and transparent industry.
Perfect. So you already answered my third question, basically. Victoria, thank you so much. So
Sorry,
yes,
I'm just so passionate about it.
Yes, after the PSP Angels introduction, okay, and not you are just a consultant, but you are also mentoring the team as well. Means once you are be the consultant for the company, the rest of your shoulder, your guidance, your mentorship, your training to the team as well is very important. So let's move on to the Social Institute and education. So you offer flexible learning models from face-to-face training to online courses and webinars. So how do you maintain consistency and rapid knowledge transfer across such different formats?
In consultancy goes hand in hand with the training. That's one thing, that what you are training, which is more general, which is more descriptive. We do obviously playful exercises to really understand certain methodology and certain processes, but consultancy is going a bit deeper on that. So then we are really unfolding all of those problems and challenges that your specific company deals with at your specific time, right? Because maybe something works for you, but it doesn't work for someone else. Maybe for you, I don't know, setting up a BVI company and a company in Singapore and a company in France, and all the banks are supporting. Maybe it's worked for your setup, your group of companies, but maybe for some other activities, the bank is a bit like, I don't really like to work with these jurisdictions. There is no right or wrong answer. So when I'm doing the trainings, I try to figure out that, okay, what exactly that you need. And of course, because I'm trying to create an ethical and standardized, transparent payments and banking industry, I feel like it's my responsibility to also have free webinars and free knowledge, which I can share with everyone. So it's not really related of if you pay, then you get. Of course, it's the certification, and those are the paid courses, and those are the private trainings that we do as well. But the mission of let's talk about the problem, let's make payment and banking a thing, let's really understand how banks think. That's my mission of putting a lot of free content online where I'm inviting all the experts. We are talking about different subjects. And in this way, we can make this whole payments and banking a little bit less complex, a little bit more user-friendly. And then companies and individuals start to ask all of those questions. We already achieved our goal, that people start to talk about it and really thinking as payments and banking as a standalone unit on the organization, other than some forgotten side piece of finance.
I would like to add over it, to set up a company in specific region is a very small step, because we as a financial consultant, sometimes it is basically a very huge roadblock to open a bank account in specific jurisdiction. You have no idea about it. You have done so much already investment in this specific region. So that's why a good consultant should be in the first step, and that consultant should be in the last step. The last step to have the financial reports as the audited reports. So make them not just the company setup, but to refine the processes as well. So we get the have the whole financial data very true or fair value, and we know the process. Okay, how much time the bank account will be opening, how much the payment fees they are asking, where the payment process will be happening, because each, like in UAE, Victoria, believe me, in UAE, the banking channel is very strict, and they have a huge list of, you have no idea number of list of documents they are requiring as per the license. Okay,
And
so
you're
same goes
absolutely
to,
right.
and same goes to the other regions as well, either the Cyprus, either the Germany, either the US. They have a long list of the, okay, if the shareholders is this specific region, we need to reconsider. If the license, trade license under these activities, we need to have, you can say, consideration. So these information as, and again, you're absolutely right. This is not the one thing that the training, the consultation, for if the company going to the one person, same case will be happening to the other client. So we need to understand the situation first of all. What is the scope? What are the requirements? What is the basically problem the client is having? What is his activities? What are the legal structure of the company? From which region? And one more thing, I don't know, Victoria, but in UAE, it is very important as a corporate service provider, as an international service provider, that we need to submit the UBO, we need to
Mm-hmm.
submit the KYC for the clients. This is a new law and EOE right now. So this is a very huge responsibility as well as a consultant, how as a corporate service provider, how we can help to the client, not just to set up a company, but to set up the whole thing. The end point is opening a bank account to help him out for the whole jurisdiction and taxation processes, and be even help to hire the good people in specific region as well. So
That's right.
yes, Victoria, this is very, seems like a very small part, but this is a huge impact on the financials and the company structure as well. So
Exactly.
now back to the section four. Victoria, see, it is very lovely have a conversation with you because we are in the same field, although the different regions. Moving money, how banks think, and industry insights. Your best-selling book, Moving Money, How Banking has clearly struck a chord with professionals like us. What inspired you to write it, and what are some of the moments your reader have shared with you after reading it?
Yes, actually, this book originally it was training material. So every time I had a new employee joining the company, I had to go back to the beginning. What is a bank? What is compliance? What was the history? Just to train them on the subject to be able to do their job, right? So this training material got bigger and bigger. And at one point, I realized myself that, okay, I'm explaining the same concepts to the clients as well. So now I'm cutting out paragraphs of the training material, sending it to clients. And then I realized that, okay, maybe if I put it everything in a book, then there will be much more easier to access all of those hidden information and connection between the different parts of payments and banking in an easy to read, basically book. So it is explaining all of those basic jargons and the basic expressions around payments and banking. It starts with the history of banking, how we ended up having a fiat system. It's trust-based.
Mm,
Banks are safeguarding, the financial system, and it goes of the different card schemes, risk, technology, integration, data security. So I try to cover every part of the industry. Obviously, there is so much that you can write about.
mm,
Every chapter has a story which can be related to. So I had a client who did that, and that was very common problem because that was the outcome of that. So this book is really written in an easy to understand language, but whoever has any problem with payments and banking, and I think everybody at one point they will encounter some problem as an individual, but definitely as a company, I would strongly recommend to have this book because it can help a lot. And it can save a lot of money and headache on the long term. If you are just understanding the basics, you are already so far off from your competition.
Absolutely. So, in my point of view, that after the reading of that book, the basic knowledge of how the bank is working, how the money is moving from one bank to one other bank, and what type of information each bank is asking from each bank, because I saw personally, due to my experience, that the banking communication is totally different with the company to company information.
That's
And
true.
sometimes it happened that the payment is struck with the companies don't know either banking channel is communicating with each other. And when the banks are from the different regions, the communication is also more difficult due to the time zones and everything and the banking hours. So as a consultant, here we are basically trying to help and guide the client. Okay, if you are making such invoices, then you need to have the information from the banks as well. Okay, maybe in future you will ask, and you should be prepared for this information. So the time gap of the payments will not be reluctant due to this of non-awareness situation. So I believe that yes, perfectly, and all professions who are related to the finance and accountancy field, they need to basically read out that book so they can
And
have the
I think
basic
that there is,
information.
and I think, sorry to cut you, but there is also a very important part that no one seemed to talk about, that the regulation is not consistent between jurisdictions. So just because I will be able to open a bank account with the whatever documents in Singapore, it doesn't mean that I can do the same in Germany. I can do the same in America. So there are different kind of banks, and even within the jurisdiction, banks are evaluating onboarding and risk on a very subjective level. So people still really don't understand that how comes that on Monday my application was accepted and on Tuesday they reject me. Why? It could be down to the human element, maybe the person who is evaluating you was on a holiday, right? And now a different person came along. Or just the bank's internal risk appetite has changed, as it's changing very quickly. So just by understanding how banks are thinking and build, just by that basic knowledge, you can actually start to really understand what are the documents that you need to submit, why the bank is asking certain questions, how to explain your activity to the bank, and what is the challenges that you will face in long term with sending money abroad, and overall, what is the reason for this complexity. So I'm very happy that you mentioned that, because this is the basic of everything, that no two banks are the same, and it's our responsibility as users to make sure that we understand what is the risk with different banks and what are the outcome that we can get with different banks, different financial products.
I don't want to mention the names of the bank. That USA banks has a certain limitation liabilities with the other UAE banks. So we know internally that okay, if you have certain bank account in US or Germany, UAE, so your should need to connect with this bank. Other means this is a very huge sometimes a problem as a CFO with the other companies as well. Okay, then we are coming to place and then guide them. Okay, the relationship with this bank is not compatible with the regulations, so you need to work with these kind of banks in your regions as well, so you can have a very smooth kind of processing system. And bank don't ask each and everything. You have a very list of the requirements then afterwards if the fulfill you didn't fulfill the things in the first stage basically. So, coming to your personal life, Victoria, with such a dynamic, demanding career, how do you personally recharge? What are some of the things you enjoy going outside of work to maintain that balance, especially living in a beautiful Limassol, Cyprus?
Well, I think when you're an expert in a field and you're running companies, you have to be obsessed with what you do. So you have to be in love with everything that you do. So even in my free time, I'm trying to catch up with the industry news. I try to go to different conferences, because then I talk to people that are interesting to me, about subjects that I like. And that's where I really feel that I belong and this is my environment. So I like to be always keep up with the latest. And thankfully now with the technology and the interconnectedness of the world, I can travel to different places, visit clients, go to conferences, but also enjoy a bit out of that travel as well. So that's how I'm balancing everything. But as I said, if you're an entrepreneur, if you are, running multiple companies, there is no such a thing as a free time. But it's okay because that's what you like to do, and that's what charges you to move ahead as well.
Perfect. I totally agree with you that if you have a passion for your work, you have no idea you can work literally 24 hours, 7 a day. But of course, work-life balance is very important. I have 3 kids, so it's not just I really love my work, but I also need to give my time to my kids as a mother. So it's
Yeah,
really very difficult sometimes to balance the work
yeah,
between business and the professional and personal life. And being a mother is really huge responsibility, Victoria, sometimes. So to stick
yeah.
on to the schedule and then go back and play the role as a mother in the family. So yes, but really we love our work and we are very passionate about it uh, perfectly. So given your extensive experience, what major shift do you see on the horizon in the global payments and banking industry over the next 5 to 10 years?
All right, so it either goes two ways, in my opinion. Banking and payment is always going to be complex in the same way as taxation is never going to be
Yeah.
harmonized. There's always going to be jurisdictions which are more friendly towards new business and always going to be over-regulated environments. So companies are always going to shift around. Now we are in the online sphere. It's easier
Hmm.
than ever. Move somewhere, start a company, enjoy the benefits. But that means that payments and banking are also going to be more and more complex. International transfers are evaluated differently from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Fintech is evolving, the technology is evolving in a daily. We have now QR codes, mobile payment, open banking, instant payment. I mean, good luck for an entrepreneur to figure out which one is the best. So it is only getting more and more complex, which is great for me as an accountant, obviously, and the expert and the tax advisor to help those companies because more work for us, of course. But on the larger scheme of things, companies are more and more lost nowadays. That's what I see. They don't really understand why the funds are being blocked and banks are rejecting them, and it's getting worse. So that's what I'm feeling, that it's either going that way or we have AI. AI is figuring out everything. Then a lot of processes will be in.
But Victoria, but as I really use AI, it doesn't matter. But I saw the case to case is different.
Yeah.
And when the case to case is different, how much the inputs you can provide, how much the commands you can provide the AI. Again, then due diligence, because this is a decision making thing. And the whole setup, the legal structure setup is going to be happen with these kind of channels. So I believe that still, yes, AI is a very good resource to get the information, but to compile it and do the due diligences with the expertise of experience and knowledge, of course, AI also have. What about the experience as well? So I saw many cases over here that they got the information from even our client is very educated now, Victoria. Means information is now in the fingerprints. Again, get the information, how to use that information, this is a big thing. So
Yes, yes.
yeah, totally. So now going back to the wrap up area, Victoria. So this has been such an enlightening conversation, and seriously, I really would like to one more thing. Um, what kind of advice you can provide to your users, your the readers, and your professionals, and your potential clients? So, what do you think? What will advice you can provide to easily in this stage right now?
It costs nothing to get it right at the beginning.
Hmm.
Work with the right professionals, get the advice, and don't just rely on gut feelings, mainly when it comes to company incorporation in payments and banking. Get the experts and get the right setup right at the beginning, because it doesn't cost a lot at the beginning to get it right, but it can cost a lot not to have it later. I have seen so many startup companies who are cutting corners, ChatGPTing the answer instead of using legal experts, trying to figure out, asking around, hey, what works for you, what not. It always ends up in a disaster, mainly when it comes to money and flow of funds. Do yourself a favor, get things right at the beginning, because correcting mistakes when your company is there at the scale up stage instead of being a startup and clients are coming on your website and you've got hundred thousands of payment requests in an hour, you will have a headache, you will lose them, and you will pay so much more than you would have done at the beginning to get the system set up right. So that's my biggest advice, because it can save basically your whole company to not to do the right thing, and it just snowballs into something huge.
What I feel right now in this IT era, I call it IT era, where the information is in fingerprints. So every single, even the large scale companies are also thinking to cut the cost. I totally agree. This is the inflection point, and there's a very difficult to sustain in this era. Is um, uh, not just one industry. Believe me, Victoria, every region of this whole UAE, every single city, country is affected by any other course of action, whatever the conditional or the political. The main thing is that uh, please connect with the person directly with the good consultant and have one-to-one conversation, have to one-to-one meeting is not cost you, but it
Yeah.
will save your time as well. It will, give you the good. And in the first instant, if you have a good advice, later on you will, you can say thank us. Okay. And of course, we are not saying we are very humble and philanthropist, but yes, we will give you good advice with the perfect way of level, with the process of the phases, not just
Yes.
say, okay, our work is done, not before then we are asking you these things, but everything is very cut and edge clear, transparent, under the code of ethics, and as soon as possible, we, not as a consultant, but you also, when you are a consultant, you have double responsibility. You need to think for the client as much as possible as a term of the corporate service provider as well, for the authority as well. Means we
Yeah.
have double responsibility as a to help the client, simultaneously to answer the authorities as well, especially in UAE. So,
That's true.
Victoria, this is a
That's
huge
true.
responsibility together as a professional. So,
And in the
uh,
same way that companies think it's automatically that when I have a company, of course I need a marketing plan. Of course you do. Of course I need a sales plan. Of course you do. But why don't you have plan for taxation? Why don't you have a plan for money, banking and payment? So it is obvious now we are talking about it, but when you start your company, you think, oh, well, this is what it is and I have to accept it. No, your responsibility is to make sure that everything is handled to the with
proper
professional.
way, yes,
Exactly.
professional way. And if the payment process method is not, you can say, strong proof, of course you will face the KYC reporting, you
Yes.
will have the taxation reporting, you need to answer not just the internal authority but the external authority due to the external circumstances. Each and every banking system is not like a traditional banking now. Every banking has their own system now, which is related to the government authorities directly. So this is now we are moving to the internationally banking system. There's also very complex as well, as per the regions, as per the activities, and something like that. And the UBO, ultimate beneficiary owner, is also very important to see the things. So, thank you. That's it for today episode for the business categories podcast. A huge thank you again to Victoria for joining us and offering such a powerful insights. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with the network. And until next time, stay curious and keep building the future of finance. Thank you.
Thank you so much.